Hare Krishna. Welcome to all the devotees to our weekly satsang program. So, in the past many weeks, we were discussing from the section known as Teachings of Lord Kapila from third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. So, we have been through 25th chapter, where Lord Kapila talks about bhakti, the process of bhakti and the results of practicing the path of bhakti. And then we have started discussing chapter 26, where Lord Kapila is speaking about Sankhya Yoga. Sankhya Yoga is basically the analytical study of the true nature or the characteristics or functions of the 28 elements with which the entire cosmos or even our individual bodies are manufactured. So out of the 28 elements, the 24 elements are the byproducts of the material nature, also known as Prakriti. They are the 5 Panchamahabhutas, earth, water, fire, air, ether, and their respective properties known as Tanmatras or sense objects. So the property of the earth is to give fragrance. The property of water is to give taste. The property of fire is to give form. The property of air is to give touch. The property of ether is to give sound. And then there are 5 Jnanendriyas from which we obtain the information from these 5 sense objects. Through ears we hear sound, through skin we get the sensation of touch, through eyes we see the various forms, through nostril we experience the taste, and through tongue we experience the taste, and through nostril we experience the fragrance. And there are 5 karmendriyas with which we perform various activities such as speaking with mouth, collecting objects or giving away object with the hands, walking from one place to other place by legs, procreating or begetting children through penis and to the genital, and then evacuating organ, something like that. And in addition to these 20 elements, there are 4 very subtle elements which are known as antakaranas, the internal senses. They are the mind. Actually, the first starts with intelligence. Intelligence is that element which analyzes the information received through the 5 Jnanendriyas, the 5 senses, knowledge acquiring senses. And then it tells what is what. It analyzes what is the information received through these 5 senses and tells what is that. And then the mind is the storehouse of the experiences, and also the pops up the previous experiences. Whenever it sees some stimuli, and the mind pops up all the past experiences in connection to that particular stimuli. So that is the function of mind, dual function. It stores good or bad experiences, and it reveals the previous good or bad experiences occasionally. And then there is ahankara. Ahankara, another name of ahankara is abhimana. Basically, it is all connected to identity. We have so many identities as long as we live in this material world. The most important identity that we have is with respect to our body, the body in which we are residing, that gives us the identity to us. So that is connected to ahankara. And finally, chetana, our consciousness, which informs us that we are alive. We are aware of what is happening with our body, etc. These are the 24 byproducts of material nature. The 25th one is Prakriti itself, which expands into these 24 elements, which consists of 3 modes of material nature, Sattva Guna, Rajoguna, Tamoguna. The 26th one is Kala, Kala, which is the energy of the Supreme Lord, which agitates Prakriti and creates all these 24 elements, and which takes care of creation, maintenance, and annihilation of the material universes and all of us, and which causes transformations in our body, such as birth, growth, giving byproducts, staying for some time, dwindling and dying, decaying, something like that. And then Jivatma, for which everything is done, and Paramatma, who is doing everything for the sake of Jivatma's happiness or something like that. So that was the whole idea behind the study of Sankhya. which includes the analysis of the different functions and natures of these 28 elements. So in the last week, at the end of our class, Ganesh Prabhu posed a question. So what is the use of studying all these elements? How does it help us in our day-to-day experience, day-to-day living? So one thing we were keep repeating from the very beginning of our discussions is that for anything that happens in this world, we always take the ownership. We say that I have done, I'm doing this, I have done it, I have planned for it, I made a plan to go here, this, here, there, etc. So we always say everything connected to I, or mine, something like that. But from Shastra, we need to understand who is doing what. So with the doer of particular activity. So, and then what are the different functions of different people, different individuals, and different elements, as we understand from the chapter. Also, what is the purpose with which the Supreme Lord is creating all these things? So we understand the purpose behind the creation. At some of the special instances in Bhagavatam, clear-cut indication is given. I have got 4 verses here. So let's briefly go through those 4 verses. So one verse from 9th canto, 24th chapter, which says that Yanmaya cheshitam pumsha sthiti utpatti appyayahi anugrahastan nivrutter atma labhaya cheshtahe. Out of causeless mercy upon the living entity, or out of the causeless mercy upon the conditioned living entity, the Supreme Lord creates, maintains, and annihilates the material universes. It is Lord does. Everything is done by the Lord out of his causeless mercy upon us. And by the same causeless mercy, anugrahas tan nivrutter. The material world is created for our enjoyment, and by the same Lord's mercy, we can get freed from the attachment to enjoy this material world. Tan nivrutter. We become nivrut. We become detached from the tendency to enjoy the material world. And then what do we do? Atma labhaya cheshtaye. So after obtaining this detachment from enjoying the material world, we endeavor to attain our constitutional position. Atma labhaya means regaining our constitutional position, that is going back home, back to Godhead. Chestaya means endeavor. So this is the purpose with which the Supreme Lord creates this material universe, utpatti, and maintains, and apyaya, time and again annihilates also. So that was the whole idea. And one verse from 10th canto, it is more clear, gets into more details. Buddhindriya manapranan janana masrujat prabhu matrartam cha bhavartam cha atmane kalpanaya cha. It says that the Supreme Lord had created this material world and also had created the human body for us with all these different facilities. What are the facilities that human body contains? There is something called intelligence, which has so many functions to analyze what is what. There is something called senses. The Jnanendriyas collect information, Karmendriyas perform various activities. There is something called mind, which stores all the experiences, good or bad, which also proposes so many desires, good or bad. Prana, which keeps us energetic. Prana is basically our breathing and associated power, etc. we can say. So which keeps us energetic, which keeps us alive, and which keeps our senses, our karmendriyas, perform activities strongly. Janana Masrujat Prabhu, for all the human beings, the Supreme Lord created all these things: intelligence, senses, mind, prana, and other things, whatever, the gross body, etc. For what purpose? There are threefold purpose with which the Supreme Lord created the universe and also our human body. One is matrartham, in order to enjoy the 5 tanmatras. Jiva comes to this material world just to enjoy the 5 tanmatras, the 5 sense objects: sound, touch, form, taste, smell. That's all. Whatever we may try to enjoy in this material world is nothing but the combination of these 5 things, or individually any one of these things. Nothing more than that. Jiva comes with this whole and soul purpose to this material world, just to experience or just to enjoy these 5 tanmatras. That is called Matrartham. But the Jiva might not be satisfied with the enjoyment of these 5 Tanmatras in one lifetime. So Jiva might hear that, okay, as a human being, I am not able to experience completely. Let me become Devata so that I can experience more. Let me become Asura, I can experience more. Gandharva, Kinara, Kimpurusha, Asura, animal, this, that. So Jiva moves from one species to other species to third species, third to fourth, fourth to fifth, like that. That is called Bhavartham. So by moving one species to other species, Jiva tries to enjoy these 5 Tanmatras differently in different species. So when the desire to enjoy them is completed, then the Jiva endeavors to Atmane Kalpanayacha, endeavor to revive one's original constitutional position. So this is the threefold purpose with which the Supreme Lord creates this material universe and maintains it and annihilates it time and again. And one more verse from the 11th canto. Ebir bhutani bhutatma mahabhuter mahabhuja sasarjo chava chanyandya swamatratma prasiddhaye. Ebir bhutani bhutatma mahabhuter mahabhuja. That Supreme Personality of Godhead, with the help of the Mahabhutas, Pancha Mahabhutas, earth, water, fire, air, ether, had created different variety of gross bodies for the different variety of living entities. Some of them are called Ucha, some of them are called Ucha and Avacha. Ucha means higher beings, such as Devatas, Gandharvas, Kinnaras, Kimpurushas. And some of them are called lower beings, such as human beings, animals, birds, reptiles, insects, snakes, lizards, aquatics, plants, etc. These are all called lower beings. Same elements only with which the bodies for the different living entities are made. Some of them are higher, some of them are lower. It's okay. For what purpose? Swa Matra Prasiddhaye. In whichever body we may be residing in, whether it is Ucha or Avacha, the purpose is same, to enjoy the same 5 sense objects. First purpose, whether in one species or multiple species, one after the other, same purpose. Once that is done, then next is Swa Atma Prasiddhaye. Then what should endeavor for? Atma Prasiddhaye, to regain one's constitutional position. So this says twofold purpose of the creation. And finally, one verse from 12th canto. Hetur jivosya sargader avidya karma karaka yam chanushayinam prahur avyakritamutapare. So for what purpose the Supreme Lord is doing all these things? He has to create Panchamahabhutas, he has to create intelligence, buddhi, he has to create jnanendriyas, karmendriyas, mind, prana, chetana, like so many things he has to create, and he has to maintain them, he has to annihilate once in a while, again create, again maintain, again annihilate. So much endeavor, so much troubles, so much difficulties. Why Lord has to go through all these things? Hetur jivosya, only for the purpose of jiva. Just to provide a facility for jiva's enjoyment, Lord performs sarga there, primary creation, secondary creation, tertiary creation, like that, one after the other. He creates, maintains, and annihilates, just to provide the fulfillment of jiva's independent desires. But what jiva does after coming here? As soon as jiva comes here, he forgets who he is. That is what is called avidya. Avidya means we forget our true identity, our original identity, who we really are in the spiritual world. That is completely forgotten. And we think ourselves as a human being, because we are living in a human body. And some of us might be thinking that we are male. Some others might be thinking as we are female, something like that, based on the bodily structure. So that is called avidya. And while identifying ourselves with respect to the body, while living in the body, we perform so many activities to fulfill our independent material desires. And performance of those material activities with that material identity, which is due to the material body, is the principal cause of our bondage in this material world. That gives us one after the other so many material bodies, so many material bodies, so many material bodies. But eventually, when we understand who we really are, when this avidya is replaced by vidya, the true knowledge of who the Supreme Lord is, true knowledge of who the jiva is, Then we also perform activities which will be the cause of obtaining a spiritual form, which will take us back home, back to Godhead, and give us the transcendental spiritual form, Sarupya Mukti, something like that. The same as that of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, which is made up of Satchid Ananda. Our material body is made up of 24 elements. The spiritual body is made up of Satchit Ananda. That is possible when we get Vidya and then perform karma according to the teachings of Vidya. So these are the different purposes with which all these things are done. So purpose of understanding the nature of these 28 elements is to get all these things, to understand this. Otherwise, for a normal person in the society, the natural understanding is the human body is the via medium for enjoyment. The material world is the source of enjoyment. So that's how we see. We see the entire world as an object of enjoyment for our personality. And we see that I am the enjoyer. Everything else is meant for my enjoyment. Everyone should act accordingly so that they all give me enjoyment. Whether it is one's own family members, friends, relatives, society, or the inanimate objects, anything. The jiva, the general tendency of any living entity is to see everything as an object of one's own enjoyment. So, but when we study all these things, we understand who is who and who is doing what. And a true knower should never mistake that I am the doer of everything. That's what Lord Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita. Prakrite kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvasha ahankara vimudatma kartaham iti manyate. You see, it is the Supreme Lord who is giving us buddhi. It is the Supreme Lord who is giving us senses. It is the Supreme Lord who is giving us mind. It is the Supreme Lord who is giving us prana. And we say that I am the doer of everything. If there is no mind, if there is no intelligence, if there is no gross body, if there is no senses, if there is no prana, if the breathing is not happening properly, can we do any activity? Especially in the last 2 years, we have heard so many stories about the problem with breathing. The coronavirus goes to the lungs and increases that mucus. Then so many people had problem with breathing and they were put on ventilators for the sake of breathing, and lakhs of rupees are expended on that particular thing. So if the breathing stops, can we do anything as usually we do? Otherwise, we might say so many things. I am the doer, I am this, I am that. But actually, everything is given by the Supreme Lord. And every activity is done by the different byproducts of the Prakriti. The mouth is speaking, the nostril is breathing and smelling, the ears are hearing, hands are collecting something and giving away something. What the soul is doing? Simply witnessing. But we say that I am doing everything. So that understanding we should get. Prakrite kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvasha. All the activities that we do are actually done by these 24 elements. We have seen what all they could do. But ahankara vimudatma. Muda means foolish. Vimuda means completely foolish. And they say that the ahankari with complete foolishness, they say that karta aham iti manyate. They consider that they are the doer of all the things that are actually done by the body and mind and senses. And they say that I am the doer and hence I am the enjoyer. Something like that. So this is our general understanding in this world. For everything we say that we are the doer, etc. But in reality, everything is done by these 24 elements. The Atma are we, where we say that that I or we is actually simply a witness. So that understanding we should gain from reading these chapters. And ultimately, when the Jnani study this, so what is the result of the proper understanding of this knowledge? That Lord Krishna tells very nicely in the Bhagavad Gita chapter 5, I think verse number 18. Vidya vinaya sampanne brahmane gavi astini suni chaiva supakecha pandita samadarshina. Here Pandita means a person who is knowledgeable about the true knowledge of these 28 elements. A Jnani who is endowed with the proper understanding of the knowledge of these 28 elements. So what does he do? how does he respond? How does the understanding of this jnana will come out in his behavior? Vidya Vinaya Sampanne. The first symptom is he will be Vinaya Sampanna. He is not at all proud that I am the doer, I am this, I am that. He becomes humble because he understands who is doing what. Ultimately, oneself is not the doer of anything. All the activities are done by different elements in the body only. We are not doing anything. Even breathing also we can't do ourselves. Breathing is done by the prana itself. So then what to speak of other things? So then the first symptom of true understanding is Vinaya Sampanna. The person is endowed with Vinaya. Vidya Vinaya Sampanne, Brahmane Gavi Asine. Whenever he comes across a Brahmana who is worthy of respect, Gavi, a cow, which is also worthy of respect, Hastina, elephant, which is also worthy of respect, Suni Chaiva, Swapakecha. Suni Chaiva, Sunicha means a dog, Swapaka means a dog eater. So like this, any person or any living entity or any object might come in front of that jnani who is endowed with proper understanding of the nature of these 28 elements, who is filled with Vinaya, humility, Pandit Samadarshina. He does not see the living entities as they are. He only sees a Jivatma covered by 28 elements, 24 elements, arranged in a different fashion. For the human body, the 24 elements are arranged in a particular fashion. For the animal body, the same elements are arranged in a different fashion. Like for example, elephant, the same 24 elements are there in huge quantity, adhika matra. For human form, they are very small. And for cow in the middle. And then for a dog, very small. And the dog eater, still he sees only 24 elements. The individual soul is covered by the 24 elements. He does not see who is who. When he sees a Brahmana, he does not see him as a Brahmana. So the Brahmana is supposed to be respected, not like that. He just sees that there is a living entity who is a pious living entity who did not misuse his free will, but staying in a particular form made by the 24 elements. And when it comes to a dog eater, he sees that this is a impious living entity who is misusing his free will, but staying in a miserable material body made up of the same 24 elements. And when he sees the cow, he sees that, okay, this is a pious living entity living in a pious body, which is worthy of worship. When it comes to elephant, he sees that this living entity is living in a huge body. He has to carry that huge body, something like that. So that is the understanding. That's kind of understanding only because of some past karma, past these things. Otherwise, he does not discriminate them from external designations. He simply sees every living entity as a 24 combination of 24 elements. Even when he sees the entire universe consisting of so many enjoyable objects, he does not see them as an object of enjoyment. He simply sees that, okay, this is nothing but the combination of 24 elements, but in a particular fashion. This is nothing but the combination of 24 elements in a particular some other fashion, something like that. Just like with atta and with some other ingredients in our home, we can make so many different variety of items. So one is called simple plain roti. Other one is called chapati by adding some ghee to it. And other one is called methi tepla, adding some a few ingredients. And by adding a little bit more aloo and etc., we can become paratha. So like that. Or by deep frying it, it becomes puri. So it is same atta, adding some more ingredients, but it appears to be in a different food items. So something like that. The same 24 elements are arranged or combined in different fashion. In one fashion, it becomes a Brahmana body. In another fashion, it becomes a Chandala body. In another fashion, it becomes a elephant body. Other fashion, it becomes a cow body. Something like the dog's body, pig's body, etc., etc. But Jnani indefinitely sees only 24 elements. That is the result of a person who understands this knowledge. So with that purpose, those who are aspirers of becoming Jnana, at the very beginning of their study, they study this Sankhya. This Sankhya is an elementary education. Those who get into more deeper in this, they become more detached from this world and they become more indifferent to this material world because it is already deeply stored in their heart. At the very beginning in their life, in the very childhood, they were taught this knowledge and everything is very much ingrained in their heart. So whenever they see anything in this later on, everywhere they see only 24 elements, and they are not at all interested in performing any material activities. Such kind of people are not interested into get into family life and set up a house and etc. Take care of the family, etc. Those people who are more into this Sankhya, generally they become detached and they get into renounced order, and then they study Sankhya and become sannyasis and etc. They are aspirers of Sahyajya Mukti, where there are no activities at all. Because for them, activity means bondage. So that is understanding in relation to Jnanis. And for those people who are not at all interested in this knowledge, they are hardcore enjoyers, hardcore karmis. They are only interested in enjoying this material world to the fullest extent, chewing the chewed. Enjoy, 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 enjoy till the last breath of life. They say that eat, sleep, and be merry. Who knows next life is there or not? Who knows where one will go, etc. etc. For them, this is the only life, or this is the last life, and enjoy to the maximum extent. Enakena prakarena enjoy karte raho bas. So that is karmis. So jnanis are nothing to do this world. Karmis are only this world, but devotees come in between. They are not too much attached to enjoy this world. They are not too much detached from this world. Instead, they use everything that is offered by the material world, but use them in the service of Supreme Lord. Instead of using it for their own enjoyment, they use it for Lord's enjoyment, and then they accept. At the same time, they are not too indifferent to this material world. Whatever comes in accordance with their karma in destiny, according to their destiny, they accept it, but use everything in the service of Supreme Lord. So this is the position of the jnanis. Position of the devotees. So jnani becomes indifferent to this material world, takes on to renunciation, and aspires for Sahyajya Mukti, where there are no activities. Because they have seen the activities in this material world, action means bondage for the jnani. And for the karmi, he is only interested in enjoying this world. He is not at all worried about next life. Enjoy as much as possible in this very life, as long as one lives in this material body. But devotee is in between. He is neither too detached nor too attached. There is some detachment to the extent that he does not want to enjoy for himself, but he wants Lord to enjoy that. At the same time, there is some attachment. He accumulates newer and newer things so that he can serve the Lord in a better and better ways. So this is how we can see the distinction between who a karmi is, who a jnani is, and who a devotee is. So this understanding is clearly explained in the 11th canto of Bhagavatam, 11th canto, 20th chapter. Lord Krishna very nicely explains about the clear-cut distinction between karmi, jnani, and a devotee. What is the qualification for karmi, jnani, and a devotee? So with this background understanding, with this purpose of the study of the Sankhya, of course, as a practicing devotee, all of us also need to understand Sankhya. Because without any understanding, so sometimes we also might think like the karmis. So we should have the understanding of jnanis, but we should utilize everything in the service of Supreme Lord as practicing devotees. So now, after creating these 24 elements, which are the byproducts of Prakriti, by glancing upon Prakriti, what did the Mahavishnu do afterwards? So this we have already studied in the 3rd canto, in the beginning chapters 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Same thing is again repeated in brief. There are few more verses, maybe about 20 verses are there. We will try to complete today. So we will not take many discussions in this in between. We just read through all the verses, and at the end we will take some discussion. So today we will complete this chapter. We are discussing this chapter for long, many weeks. Having described the appearances of the causes of creation, that is basically having described about the appearance and the properties of the 28 elements, Lord Kapila now describes the appearance of the effect. The 24 elements are the cause. The resultant effect is the entire universe consisting of 14 planetary systems and also our body, whether it is human body or devata body or animal body, which is also made up of the same 24 elements. So that will be explained in the future verses. Etani asamhatya yada etani asamyata yada mat adini saptavai kala karma gunopeto jagat adirupavishad. When it says that when the 7 elements starting with Mahatattva did not combine, 7 means 24, 7 also includes 24, the Supreme Lord entered all the elements along with time, karma and prakriti. So the 24 elements were created. They were lying here and there. They don't know what to do. Just like in our kitchen, in one box there is atta, in one box there is jeera, in one box there is haldi, in one box, in one bowl there is methi and dhaniya patta and kadi patta and green chili and etc. So many things are there. They don't know what to do. The mother has to come and cut some of them into pieces and add them together and add some water and then make it like a proper dough. Then take little ball and then make flat. Then either what you can say, either deep fry it in the oil so that it will become puri, or then put it on the fire and pan. It will become roti or chapati or tepla, etc. So the same thing. The duty of mother is to combine all the ingredients which are there in different boxes and make them into a eatable substance. Similarly, the Supreme Lord combining these 24, 28 elements basically enters into the 28 elements as the combining force and combines them. By that combination, it creates unlimited Brahmandas. So that is what is mentioned. When all the elements were separate, the Lord combines them with his cohesive energy. When the elements remain in unmixed state, the Supreme Lord entered them as cohesive energy. First, in order to combine all the elements by his compacting energy, he entered into that elements at the energy which combines one and the other. This means that he entered into them along with time, which is agitator, karma, the fate of the jivas, and prakriti, or the swabhava of the jivas. Kala, karma, guna. Along with that cohesive energy, kala, karma, guna of the kala, karma, swabhava of all the living entities also entered. So that he entered into all the 24 elements, and now they are all going to be combined together and form unlimited Brahmandas. The same thing was also mentioned in the second canto, 5th chapter, in one of the last 2 verses. It is in the chapter mentioned that, wherein Sukadeva Goswami was saying that, oh, best of the Brahmanas, as long as, Lord Brahma was speaking to Narada Muni. Oh, best of the Brahmanas, as long as the gross elements, senses, the mind, were not mixed together, it was not possible for them to produce material bodies. Coming together by the impulse of Lord's cohesive energy, accepting primary and secondary forms, they created body of the whole universe. Initially, by the combination of these 24 elements, the Brahmanda or the universe is formed. Then later on, by combining the same 24 elements, Lord Brahma manufactures the human body, animal body, reptiles body, tree body, Devata body, Gandharva body, etc. They're all done by and the individual bodies in it by Lord Brahma. Lord Vishnu creates the universe and Lord Brahma creates our individual bodies. So in that way. And then it continues. Tataste nanu viddebhyo yuktebhyo andamachetanam Utitam Purusho Yasmad Udatistad Asau Virat. So what did the Lord do? The Lord had entered into the 24 elements at the cohesive energy. As a result of that, they all came together. The dough is created. From the dough, some 20 number of balls were created. Something like that. The 20 number of Brahmandas or the universes are created. But they don't have any life. They are simply floating on the Karna ocean. Then Karnodakshai Vishnu enters into all the elements. They combine together and formed an unconscious globe. From which? So unconscious globe, the dead universal globes are formed. They were all floating on the Karna ocean. Then the same Karnodakshai Vishnu, expanding himself as Garbhodakshai Vishnu, enters into each and every universe. Having entered there, okay, he creates a universal form within the universe. The gross universal form consisting of the 14 planetary systems, which comes out of the navel of Garbhodaksha Vishnu, the lotus, which is divided into 14 planetary systems later on, and also the subtle universal form, which is the combination of all the mass of jivas, that is called Hiranyagarbha, as if the dead universe comes to life. Previously, the universe is actually dead. They were all floating in the Karanaka ocean, Karanaka ocean. But Garbhodaksha is interested into each and every universe, and by creating the gross universal form and the subtle universal form, he makes that universe alive. The dead universe becomes alive. So that was the activity by the Supreme Lord. Being penetrated by his entrance, the elements became agitated and immediately combined to form an egg. Egg means Brahmanda. From that, the universal form composed of the mass of jivas arose, as if waking up from sleep. The universe becomes alive from dead state by the entry of Garbhodakshayi Vishnu. So then further it continues. Etad andam vichakshakyam karma vriddhir dashottarair toyadibi parivrutam pradhanena vrutairbahi yatra loka vitanoyam rupam bhagavato hare. It says that. So now, what is the structure of that universal egg that is mentioned here? The universal globe called Vishesha, called a special, Etad Andam Visheshakyam, the special universal egg or Brahmanda is surrounded by layers of elements such as water. So this universe, our Brahmanda, is surrounded by 7 universal layers. The egg has 7 universal shells made up of earth, water, fire, air, ether, ahankara, and mahatattva. So the 5 layers corresponding to 5 gross elements. The 2 layers corresponding to one is ahankara layer, other one is mahatattva layer. So the universe is made up of 7 layers. And these 7 layers are surrounded, each 10 times thicker than the previous layer. The first one is earth layer. Water layer is 10 times thicker than the earth layer. Fire layer is 10 times thicker than the water layer. That means 100 times thicker than the earth layer. And air layer is 10 times thicker than the fire layer. And ether layer is 10 times thicker than the air layer. Then ahankara is 10 times thicker than the ether layer. Mahatattva is the 10 times thicker than the ahankara layer. And this mahatattva layer is surrounded by the layer of prakriti, or it is called as pradhana layer, which is 10 times thicker than the layer of mahatattva. Like that, there are 8 layers in total surrounding our universe. Within the universe are the variety of planets, which are a material form of Supreme Lord. So within this Brahmanda, consisting of 8 layers, there is the universal form consisting of 14 planetary systems, which is the material form of the Supreme Lord, which is called as Virata Rupa, or the universal form, the gross universal form consisting of 14 planetary systems, made up of same 24 elements. So like that, it is Mahavishnu entering into the universe as Garbhodaksha Vishnu creates the universal form made up of 24 elements consisting of 14 planetary system. So how did he do that? After 1,000 years, the universe was floating in the Karana ocean for 1,000 years. Then Garbhodaksha Vishnu enters it. He means Garbhodaksha Vishnu then enters into the lifeless universe as Garbhodaksha Vishnu and gives it life. This gives rise to the universal form, which is covered outside by 7 layers. So within that universe, variety of planetary systems form the various limbs of this universal form. So like that. The same thing was also mentioned in the second canto, 5th chapter and the 5th chapter only. 2 verses are there. Varshapuga sasrante tadandam mudakeshayam kala karma sabhavasto jivo jivam ajivayat. After 1,000 years, the Lord, situated in time, karma and sabhava, brought to life the non-living universe, which was lying in the waters of Karna ocean. Then what did you do? Sayeva Purushattasmad Andam Nirbidya Nirgata Sasroru Angibahu Aksha Sahasranana Shirshaman. It says that thereafter that Purusha pierces the universe. So this Garbhodaksha Vishnu, after entering into a universe, he stays in that universe for one lifetime of Brahma, for 100 years of Lord Brahma. Then he comes out of the universe and he merges back into Karnadaksha Vishnu. There he resides as Karnadaksha Vishnu with 1,000 legs, 1,000 feet, 1,000 arms, 1,000 eyes, 1,000 faces, and 1,000 heads. The form of Karnadaksha Vishnu is said to be like that of Sahasra Shirsha Purusha. So Karnadaksha Vishnu stays outside, sleeping on the bed of Lord Shesha, who is floating in the Karana ocean, like a Sahasra Shirsha Purusha, consisting of thousands of heads, thousands of eyes, thousands of faces, thousands of arms, thousands of feet, thousands of legs, etc. etc. So it was like that. So the universe is formed consisting of 8 layers, each 10 times thicker than the previous layer. And within the universe, there is universal form consisting of the 14 planetary systems, which is called as Lord's gross body. In the universe, the gross body of the universal form or something like that. Hiranmayad Andakoshad Uttaya Shalileshayat Tamavishya Mahadevo Bahuda Nirbibedakam. It says that rising from the golden globe, Hiranmaya Andakosha means rising from the Hiranyanda or Brahmanda, lying on the water. The Supreme Lord situated himself there, differentiated the apparatus of his body at the universal form. After Garbhodaksha Vishnu entered the universe, he slept in the waters of Garbhodaka ocean for some time. Then when it is the right time for creation, he got up from his deep slumber known as Yoga Nidra. Then from his navel comes the lotus flower. That lotus flower is called as the gross universal form, consisting of 14 planetary systems. They are called as apparatus. Bahuda Nirvidyakam. That means from that lotus flower, there is going to be appearing the 14 planetary systems, different varieties, consisting of different varieties in that way. The divisions within the universe are described. Variety of planetary systems form the various limbs of this universal form. Situated himself there, the great Lord created many apertures. That means basically the 14 planetary systems are considered to be 14 different limbs of the universal form, Virata Purusha. Like the soles are considered to be Patala, the upper part of the feet are considered to be Rasatala, Rasatala. Then the shanks are considered to be Mahatala, and the knees are considered to be Sutala, thighs are considered to be Vitala. The joints where the legs are joining the body are called as Atala. The joining portion, thighs and little upper portion of the thighs is called as Bhuloka. Then the Nabi portion is called Bhurloka. Then the abdomen portion is called as Swargaloka. The chest is called Maharloka. The neck is called Janaloka. The lips are called Tapaloka. The forehead is called Satyaloka. So like that, the different lokas are identified with the different bodily limbs of the Virat Purusha. So that is what is indicated. Nirabidyasya pratamam mukam vani tato bhavat vanya vahanir ato nase prano to granayetayo. Then the universal form appeared in the form of the 14 planetary system, and the 14 planetary system are seen to be different body limbs of the Lord. Now the manifestation of the individual body limbs are mentioned. So how is that? First, his mouth became differentiated. First, in that universal form, the mouth manifested. Then the organ of speech, the subtle sense organ known as speech, appeared. So first, the gross mouth made up of the flesh appeared for the universal form. Then the speaking organ, the ability to speak, appeared. The subtle sense mechanism that appeared. And with the organ of speech, the fire devata appeared. The controlling deity of the mouth also appeared, who is Agni, and entered the mouth of the universal form. Because the mouth of the universal form is the office of Agni Devata, because he need to supervise the activities of the mouth of all the living entities. So his office is the mouth of the universal form. So he entered there in the office to do his service. Then the two nostrils became differentiated. After the mouth, the nostrils became differentiated. Penetrated by prana, the sense organ called the nose, the subtle nose, corresponding to the two nostrils, appeared. So first, the fleshy nostril appeared, then the sensory mechanism for breathing and also for smelling also appeared. That is what is indicated. So like this, we will see in the future verses how various limbs of the Virat Rupa formed one after the other. First, gross organ made up of the flesh appears. Then subtle organ, the subtle mechanism of that particular sense appears. The sense Devata, who will be supervising the activity of the sense organ, will also appear. That is the sequence will be mentioned in the upcoming verses. With the organ of speech, the fire Devata appeared and entered the mouth. The two nostrils then appeared. So like that, all these things are mentioned one after the other. Of course, we'll see in the shlokas. Granadvayur abidyetam akshni chakshuretayo tasma suryo nabidyetam karno shrotram tato disha. It says that after the appearance of the nose, the air devata and the Ashwini devatas entered it. So air devata for breathing, Ashwini devatas for smelling. So both the devatas have two different functions to supervise. Air devata is nothing but Vayu or prana, and Ashwini devatas are for smelling. Both of them entered the nostril of the universal form and they look after the functions of nostrils.
मी समोर बसली इथे पण बघते.
So then the two eyeballs are basically the fleshy eyes and the subtle sense organ, the eyes, the eye mechanism appeared. Then the sun devata entered the eyes of the universal form. The devata, sun, who will supervise the activities of our eyes, entered into the eye of universal form. That is his office. Then the two ears appeared. The two gross ears made up of flesh appeared, flesh and bones. Then the ear organ, the hearing mechanism appeared, and the direction devatas, who will supervise the activities of the hearing process, also appeared, and they entered into the nostril of universal form. Nirabibeda virajastva romas smarshav adayastata tata oshadayaschasan shishnam nirabibedetata. It says that then the skin and the hairs and mustache of the universal form appeared. So the skin appeared, the hairs appeared, the skin pores appeared, the mustache appeared, and then the herbs, the devatas of skin appeared. So various herbs which are corresponding, just like the hairs come out of a skin pores, similarly the various herbs, oshadi, different variety of plants, creepers, they appear from the surface of the earth. The plants are the devatas for the hairs, and for the skin, for the touch sensation, the devata is the Vayu. So like all the devatas will appear, who will look after the functions of the touch sensation of the skin and also the activity of the skin pores and the hairs, etc. And then the genital also appeared. Retat tasmat apa asan nirabidyata vaikudam gudat apano panascha mrutyur loka bhayankara. It says that the genital appeared and the sex organ producing semen appeared, and then the water devata appeared. The devata corresponding to the genital is ocean. They also appeared. The anus appeared. After that, the organ of evacuation appeared. Basically, the evacuation process, the sensory organ appeared. Then the devata of the excretion organ, death, mrityu, feared by all people, also appeared. The present deity for the anus is mrityu or baya, also appeared. But this mrityu creates fear in all the living entities. Death is, everyone is afraid of death. So in that way. And then astaucha nirabidyetam balam tabayam tataswarat padaucha nirabidyetam gatistabayam tato hari. Then the two hands made up of flesh and bones appeared, and from them the organ with grasping power appeared. The subtle sense organ, the ability to lift some object, give it to others or collect it from others, that is called the subtle sense organ of the hands, that appeared. Along with the devata of the hands, Indra also appeared. Indra is the supervisor of the function of our hands. Basically, with the hands we perform various activities. All the activities are called karma. So the supervisor of our karma is Indra himself, the main devata of the entire Swarga, or the main, the king among all the devatas. So in that way. So Indra enters into the hands of the universal form. He will look after the functions of all our hands. Then the 2 feet appeared. The 2 feet made up of flesh and bones appeared, the grass legs. And then the organ of the movement, the subtle sense organ of the feet is the process of movement, also appeared. Then the devata of the feet, Hari, appeared. He is called Hari, but at some other places is called Upendra, some other places is called Vishnu. But this Hari or Vishnu is not actually Lord Hari. He is not the Supreme Lord, but he is one among the many devatas who is empowered by the Supreme Lord. So Hari is a devata, not Lord Vishnu, in whom the Lord enters with his powers, according to Jiva Goswami. Jiva Goswami says that this Hari mentioned here or Upendra mentioned elsewhere is not the Lord Vishnu himself. He is actually one of the many devatas who is empowered by the Supreme Lord Vishnu. So in that way. So like this, these different devatas entered into their respective organs in the universal form to look after the functions of all those organs. Then it further continues. Nadyosya nirabidyanta tabyo lohita mahara abrutam nadyastata samabavan udaran nirabidyata. It says that then the veins of the universal form appeared. So within the universal form, all the veins appeared. And then the sense organ which spreads blood all over the body, and blood and other substances. So not only blood, but all other substances that are transmitting within our body appeared. So first the veins appeared, and the process of moving blood and other objects within our body from one place to other place appeared. Then the devata of the veins, known as rivers, appeared. The rivers, the personalities of the rivers are the devatas of our veins. Then the stomach appeared. Stomach, the deity of the stomach is ocean, and the deity of the veins, which have the current to continuous movement of our blood and other things, is a rivers. Generally, rivers keep moving from Himalayas to the ocean, and ocean remains stable. That is like abdomen, the udara or stomach. Shut pipase tatasyatam samudrastu etayorabut atasya hridayam binnam hridayan mana uttitam. It says that the hunger, the organ of hunger and thirst appeared. In the previous it said that the abdomen appeared, and within the abdomen there are so many subtle organs which cause hunger and thirst appear. So and then the ocean, their devata, the ocean is the devata of the abdomen, who will be directly responsible to look after the hunger and thirst of the universal form and all the living entities. The ocean god also appeared. Then the heart of the universal form appeared, and from the heart the mind appeared. So then finally appeared the heart, and from the heart appears the mind, intelligence, ego, and chetana. All these four, one after the other, appear from the mind. So after these four, their deities who will be supervising the activities of the mind, intelligence, ego, and chetana also appears. That is mentioned in the 61st verse. Manasas Chandra Majato Buddhir Buddhir Girampati Ahankarastato Rudras Chittam Chaityastato Bhavat. It says that from the mind arose the presiding deity Chandra. So Chandra will take care of the functions of our mind. From the intelligence arose its presiding deity known as Brahma. Brahma will take care of the functions of, or he will supervise the functions of all our intelligences. And from Ahankara arose the present deity Rudra. So Lord Shiva or Rudra will look after the functions of our Ahankaras, our egos. From the Chitta arose the present deity Vasudeva. So Lord Vishnu, who is known as Vasudeva, appears from Chitta and he will supervise the activities of our Chitta. So like that, finally, the heart, which is the sitting place of mind, intelligence, ego and Chetana, appeared, and their respective deities, Chandra, Brahma, Rudra and Vishnu or Vasudeva, they all appeared. So like this, one after the other, starting with the mouth all the way up to Chetana, all the 24 elements along with their, not 24, all the 14 senses along with their respective devatas appeared in that universal form. So previously, the lotus consisting of 14 planet system is like the gross body of the Supreme Lord. So now all these senses, the 14 senses, are the subtle body of the universal form, consisting of various senses and their respective deities who will supervise the activities of these different organs. So this is like the subtle body of the universe. Heart is the location of the four aspects of the Antakarana, the four aspects of the internal senses. They are known as mind, intelligence, ego and Chitta. Chaitya refers to Lord Vasudeva, the preserved deity of Chitta. He is also the form of the Lord to be worshipped for the purification of Chitta. So whenever we have any problem with Chitta, Chitta means consciousness, our Chetana. So the Shastra recommends us to worship Lord Vasudeva so that we can be purified of the malfunctioning of Chitta. So whenever there is some problem with Ahankara, the Shastra recommends us to worship Lord Shiva. And problem with actually the present deity is Lord Shiva, but the worshipable deity is Lord Sankarshana. For Ahankara, Lord Sankarshana. For Chetana, it is Lord Vasudeva. For Ahankara, Lord Sankarshana. And for the intelligence, it is Pradyumna. For the mind, it is Aniruddha. So like that, Shastra recommends us to worship. As Sankarshana is the Antaryami of Prakriti, the material nature. As Pradyumna, he is the Antaryami of the Hiranya Garbha. The mass of all jivas are the Antaryami of the universe. So Lord Sankarshana is the Paramatma for material nature or Prakriti. Lord Pradyumna who is also called as Garbhodaksha Vishnu. The first one, Sankarshana, is also called as Karnodaksha Vishnu. Karnodaksha Vishnu is the Paramatma of Prakriti. Garbhodaksha Vishnu, the Paramatma of the universe, are all the living entities who are living in the universe. And Aniruddha is another form, is Kshirodaksha Vishnu. He is the Antaryami of each one of us, all the individual jivas. So the individual jiva is not the present deity of Chitta, since the jiva lacks independent ability to act and cannot supply the means of acting. The jiva alone cannot do anything. Unless until Paramatma is there within the heart along with jiva, we cannot perform any activities on ourselves, on our own. It is only by the empowerment of the Paramatma, Jivatma desires something and the body performs, body consisting of the senses, performs various activities. Without Paramatma, Jivatma cannot do anything. Aham sarvasya prabhava mattam sarvam pravartate. Not that. Sarvasya chaham hridisannivishto matta smritir jnanam apohanam cha. Lord Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita 15th chapter. I am situated as Paramatma in the heart of each and every living entity. And by my presence comes remembrance, forgetfulness, and knowledge. Without remembrance, without forgetfulness, without knowledge, we can't do anything in this material world. That is the simple example. If we go to sleep tonight and get up early in the morning tomorrow, And when we get up early in the morning next day, if we forget who we really are, we don't know what is our name, we don't know what is our education qualification, we don't know what is our occupation. Even some of our family members comes in front of us, we don't remember them. We say, who are you? Who am I? What will happen to us? What will be our condition? Who are we? Who they are in relation to us? All this knowledge and the memory is given to us when we get up next day morning by Paramatma. So that is the role of Paramatma. So that's why Paramatma's different functions are called in the Bhagavatam 11th canto. It is said that Acharya Chaitya Vapusa Swagatam Vananti. So Uddhava is telling to Lord Krishna. He says that, so my dear Lord, you appear in two features. Externally, you appear as Acharya. Externally, in front of us, the Supreme Lord appears as Acharya to guide us how to go back, come back to Godhead. And internally, you appear as Antaryami to guide us from within to deliver the jivas to your lotus feet. So functions of both our Antaryam Paramatma and also the spiritual master is to take us back, come back to Godhead. And these two are the manifestations of Lord Krishna himself. Sometimes Jiva is designated as Chaitya, the conscious being, for he identifies himself in that role, not because he is the deity presiding over Chitta. Jiva is not the Lord of Chitta. Instead, it is Lord Vasudeva is the Lord of Chitta. So, in that way. Etehi abhyuttita deva naiva sottapaneshakan punar avivishukani tam uttapayitum kramat. The devatas who had appeared were not able to awaken the universal form. They again, one after the other, entered the apertures to wake him up. The simple understanding here is, from this verse onwards, in the next 7-8 verses, it is clearly indicated that, for example, a dead person is lying there. The gross body is perfectly right. The gross body made up of earth, water, fire, ether, perfectly right. Everything is proper. So then, one devata or one subtle sense enters into the dead body. Will he get up? So what we are going to see in the future is that, first, the eye mechanism, sensory mechanism of the eye, along with the devata sun, when that enters into the dead body, will the dead body become alive? When the speaking function enters into the mouth, along with the devata known as Agni, when he alone enters into a dead body, will he become alive? So like that, one after the other, it is mentioned. But individually, all these devatas and all these senses entering one after the other, but none of them are becoming successful to awake the personality. Only when Paramatma enters along with Chetana, then only the personality wakes up. Without Paramatma or without Chetana, in spite of having our Jnanendriyas, Karmendriyas, mind, intelligence, ego, the body is good for nothing. Body is of no use. It is Paramatma who awakens the body, and then the body becomes functional. Even if Paramatma is there, some of other body limbs are not active at all. Still person can perform many other activities. Still person can be alive and do other activities. For example, a person is bereft of vision. That means the eye sense organ is not working properly. But still the person can do all other things in relation to other things. But even if a person has good eye sense organ, but the Paramatma himself is not there in the heart, then what that person can do? So that is indicated in the next series of verses. The important position of Paramatma, the important position of the deity of Chetana, along with Chetana itself, is indicated in the upcoming verses. The Devatas individually could not wake up the Virat Rupa. They again entered the apertures one after another to wake him up. So with the creation of the individual elements, the devatas entered, but they could not wake him up. They again entered, trying to wake him up once again, but they failed. This is described to show that the Antaryami possesses all powers by their emerging from and entering into the Lord. So it is from Karnodaksha Vishnu, who is the Antaryami of Prakriti. Prakriti itself appeared, and then from Prakriti all the 24 elements appeared. So thus, and eventually at the time of Pralaya, all the 24 elements again enter into Prakriti. Prakriti enters into Karnodaksha Vishnu. It is Karnodaksha Vishnu who is all powerful. None of these elements. So in order to indicate that, all these verses are spoken. Vahnirvacha mukambeje nodatishta tada virat granena nasike vayur nodatishta tada virat. So the fire devata along with the organ of speech entered the mouth of the universal form, but the universal form did not rise. Na udatishtas tada virat. Virat means the universal form did not get up, did not wake up from the deep slumber, even though the fire devata entered into the mouth. The air devata along with the nose entered the nostril, but the universal form did not arise. Akshni chakshushaadityo nodatishta tada virat shrotrena karnau cha disho nodatishta tada virat. The sun devata along with the eyes entered into the eyeballs, but the universal form did not arise. The direction devatas along with the ears entered the gross ears, but the universal form did not arise. Tvacham romabi roshadayo nodatishta tada virat retata shishnamapastu nodatishta tada virat. The hair devata along with the hair sense organ entered the skin, but the form did not arise. The water devata along with the organ of sex entered the penis, but the form did not, universal form did not arise. Gudam mrutyur apanena nodatishta tada virat astaundro balena eva nodatishta tada virat. Death, the deity of anus along with evacuation organ entered the anus, but the universal form did not awaken. Indra along with the organ for grasping the things entered the hands of the universal form, but the universal form did not arise. Vishnur gatyaiva charanau nodatishta tada virat nadir nadyo lohitena nodatishta tada virat. Vishnu or Upendra, one of the devatas, along with the organ of locomotion, along with the organ of movement, entered the gross feet, but the form did not arise. The river devatas along with the circulation organ veins entered the veins, but the form, universal form did not arise. Shutrubhya udaram Shutrubhyam udaram sindur nodatishta tada virat Hrudayam manasa chandro nodatishta tada virat. The ocean devata along with hunger and thirst organ entered the stomach, but the universal form did not arise. Chandra along with the mind entered the heart, but the universal form did not arise. Buddhya brahma api hrudayam nodatishta tada virat Rudro abhimatya hrudayam nodatishta tada virat. Lord Brahma along with the intelligence entered the heart, but the universal form did not arise. Lord Rudra along with ego entered the heart, but the universal form did not arise. Finally, Chittena hridayam chaitya kshetrajna pravishajyada virat tadaiva purusha salilat udatishtata. Finally, when Lord Vasudeva, the Antaryami, the Paramatma, along with Chitta or Chetana, entered the heart, then the universal form rose up from the water. It is only when Paramatma entered along with Chetana, the universal form or our individual body becomes awake. Otherwise, without the presence of Paramatma, even though by the presence of all other elements, the body is as good as dead only. It is only by the presence of Paramatma that the dead body becomes alive. So, in that way. But when Lord Vasudeva entered the heart, along with the Chitta, the Virat Rupa rose up from water. Chaitya is Lord Vasudeva, the Antaryami, Kshetrajna. For as Gita says that, Kshetrajnan chapi mam vidhi sarva kshetreshu avasthitam. My dear Arjuna, know that I am also the knower of the field situated in all bodies. So Lord says that there is one body is called as Kshetra, the soul is called as Kshetrajna because the soul knows about the body. Also understand that myself in the form of Paramatma also situated in each and every body. Thus, I am the Kshetrajna of all the bodies. So Paramatma is the Kshetrajna of each one of our body. So it is by his presence everything happens. Yata prasuttam purusham pranendriyamanodiya prabhavanti vinayena nota payitum ojasa. Here, the role of Paramatma is mentioned with an example, a simple example. Similarly, whether we might be having our pranas, we might be breathing. Our senses are there, our mind is there, our intelligence is there, but by their own strength cannot awaken a sleeping individual. When a person is in deep sleep, none of the pranas, none of the senses, mind and intelligence can awake him without the intervention of the Supreme Lord, the Antaryami. Only by the intervention of Antaryami, all things become awakened. In one of the previous class, we discussed that the functions of four subtle elements. When we are in deep sleep, none of the other elements are functioning, all the way up to Ahankara are in deep sleep. When we hear some sound, it is the Chetana becomes aware of that sound. Then the Chetana activate the intelligence, try to understand what that sound is, whether the sound of conscious, the sound of the vehicle, or sound of something else. Then the mind reveals that's the experiences connected to that sound, whatever past experience that we have do with respect to that sound. Then the ego says that whether to get up or not. So like that, eventually one after the other become activated. It is Chetana becomes first activated because Chetana is directly connected to Paramatma. So in that way. Similarly, the pranas, mind and intelligence cannot wake up a sleeping individual who is in deep sleep without the intervention of the Supreme Lord or the Antaryami, the Paramatma. So an example of the individual body is given to illustrate the condition of the universal form. Just as the mind and intelligence cannot awaken a person sleeping or in deep sleep without the Supreme Lord, the presiding deity of the Chitta, all these devatas individually cannot awaken the universal form without the presence of Paramatma. So this is what we discussed in the past. Indriyani paranyahur indriyabhya paramanaha manasastu parabuddhir yo buddhe parasasucha. So generally in our normal daytime, the senses are considered to be superior to the dull matter. The body made up of Pancha Mahabhutas are much inferior and superior to them is 10 senses, the 5 Jnanendriyas, 5 Karmendriyas. And the senses includes, the Jnanendriyas includes intelligence, the Karmendriyas includes prana. But the mind is superior to the senses as it is even stronger and active during dreams when the senses do not function. When we go to bed, when we are sleeping, we may get some dreams. So in the dream, we forget who we really are. But we think ourselves as a butterfly or as a parrot or as a tiger or a lion, or we think ourselves as a king, something like that. So we identify ourselves with a new different grass body and different senses and different activities, etc. etc. But that time, our mind is still active, our ahankara is also still active. But compared to the mind, buddhi or vijnana, which is actually chitta, chetana is stronger. So why? Because during deep sleep, even the mind does not function. When we go into deep sleep, our mind becomes dead. Our ahankara also becomes dead in the sense we don't even identify with our body or with any other body also, in the dream body also. That time only two things are awake is our chetana as well as our breathing. The breathing goes on and our chetana is still intact. So in that way. But compared to chitta, the famous Jivatma is superior. Atma is superior and superior to Atma is Paramatma. So like that, that is the kind of gradation it is mentioned. So in that way. So that means the understanding is a person in deep sleep is as good as dead, but is not dead because the Chetana is still active and Paramatma is still there. If the Paramatma and Chetana, those two are also taken out of a deep sleep person, is dead completely. But a person in deep sleep becomes activated only by the intervention of Paramatma, who instigates the Chetana to respond to the external stimuli and awaken the intelligence, mind, and ahankara in the body so that the body functions, responds according to the need of the hour. So it is like that. So that's why the importance, the main role of Paramatma is indicated here in this thing. So the concluding verse for this chapter and also for today's discussion here is Tamaspin Pratyagatmanam Diya Yoga Pravruttaya Bhaktya Viraktya Jnanena Vichintyatmani Chintayet. So now it says that out of the 28 elements, who is the most important one? The Paramatma is the most important one. Though there are 28 elements, without the Paramatma, without the presence of Paramatma, all the other 27 elements are as good as dead. Even though they are there, they cannot do anything on their own. All of them becomes meaningful or valuable only if there is Paramatma. That indicates indirectly, even though the Jnanis study the Sankhya Yoga at the very beginning of their Gurukul days, but ultimately they should come to this understanding that, so we should be aware of the functions of all the 27 elements, including Atma. But we should understand the most important element among all these 28, that is Paramatma. And then we should dedicate all our contemplation upon this Paramatma. It is that Paramatma by whose presence the body becomes activated. It is that Paramatma who alone gives us liberation. So in order to attain liberation, a person who, after studying Sankhya, after understanding Sankhya, should come to this conclusion that the understanding of Paramatma is most important, and then meditation of Paramatma is most important if at all one is aspiring for liberation. So that is the conclusion. That is the purpose of studying Sankhya. That is the purpose of studying and understanding the functions of these 28 elements in this chapter. So that's why it is said that Tamaham Pratyagatmanam Diya Yoga Pravruttaya Bhaktya Viraktya Jnanena Vichintyatmani Chintayet. It says that one should ascertain all the above, the nature of the 28 elements, and then contemplate the Supreme Lord, the Ishvara, the 28th element, who is called as Pratyagatmanam. He who can be internally perceived as Paramatma. The 28th element, who is called as Ishvara, can be perceived internally within the core of our heart as Paramatma. Within the body, who is situated within the body, which is a combination of the causes and effects, are in the Jivatma. We can perceive Paramatma being situated within the body as Kshetrajna, or we can also perceive the Paramatma within ourselves, within the Jivatma, who is situated next to the Jivatma. How? By unmotivated bhakti, viraktya bhaktya, by the practice of unmotivated bhakti, or by the practice of jnana, using the intelligence motivated by bhakti. So either by the process of jnana or by the process of bhakti, one should understand the true nature of all these 28 elements and understand the importance of the 28th element, and by the practice of bhakti and by the practice of jnana, one can realize this Paramatma who is situated within the body or within the soul itself. So this is the conclusion of this chapter. What is the goal of explaining the analysis of element? Goal of studying Sankhya Yoga is to come to the conclusion that we are supposed to contemplate on the Supreme Lord with the performance of Ayatuki Bhakti, if we are the practitioners of Bhakti, or with the Jnana, if those sadhakas are practitioners of Jnana. So that is the result. He can be perceived as Paramatma internally in the body, which is a combination of cause and effect, or in the Jivatma. So this is the conclusion, or this is the purpose, or this is the goal of studying Sankhya Yoga, which we are trying to study from the last 3-4 weeks, trying to understand, trying to analyze these 28 elements with whatever limited understanding we have. So So this chapter talks about the analysis and different functions of these 28 elements and how they all depend upon the 28th element, Paramatma. And in the next chapter, how by contemplating upon Paramatma, a jnani attains Sahajya Mukti or liberation with the help of Bhakti. Jnani cannot attain Sahajya Mukti just by practicing jnana alone. They need to practice jnana along with Bhakti. It is Bhakti Mishra Jnana. So then only a person can attain Sahajya Mukti. So that will be discussed in the next chapter. So that we will discuss in the upcoming weeks, maybe a couple of 2-3 weeks, we will discuss that. How does a jnani attains liberation? So this is from this chapter. So before closing, if there are a couple of questions, we'll take on. Yes, Prabhu, Ganesh Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Thank you for such a wonderful and technical this thing. Prabhuji, in the 9th section, that is creation of various limbs of Virat Rupa, Prabhuji, is it synonym to what fetus develops?
What is that Peter develops?
Fetus. How the fetus develops in the womb. Any fetus, let it be human being or any. It is
No.
the same sequence?
And no, both are different. Not necessarily be the same. This universal form manifestation, they all happen like one after the other attack together also, it can be said. But fetus development is slowly gradual process.
Okay.
Little difference is there. But of course, everything
Saying
is
then
manifested. The universal form
difference
also has all the body limbs. The fetus also has all the body limbs. They are also developed one after the other. Here also they are developed one after the other. So we don't have to correlate both of them. It can be same. Maybe there are some differences also here and there.
Okay. Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you so much for the wonderful class.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Dandavat Pranam, Prabhuji.
Dandavat Pranam.
Prabhuji, last time Ganesh Prabhuji had asked the question that why we should study all these things. So the text 72, is it the answer of that the goal of explaining the analysis of, that is Sankhya Yoga elements, is to contemplate on the super soul through devotion, that as and without Paramatma all the 27 elements are as good as dead. So is it the answer to that question, Prabhuji?
Yes, this is the answer. Also, we discussed at the beginning of our class, referring from various cantos.
Yes. That also I understood. Yeah. But I thought that this can be the answer of that question.
Yes, this is the answer ultimately, but I have not mentioned at that time. I have taken reference from other classes. Ultimately, we have come to the conclusion. Yes, this is the answer.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other devotees?
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji.
Prabhuji, while discussing Ahankara Vimudatma, Kartaham iti manyate, you mentioned, later on you mentioned that Ahankar is one of the layers. Now, when we talk in terms of layers, a layer is a kind of a physical entity. So how do we understand this? Layers. No, when we take oil and water, for example, they separate into 2 layers. So they are about individual existence. So how do you understand Ahankar, which actually complicates our thinking, complicates everything in our life, spiritual life? How do we understand that part?
See, the layers are mentioned in terms of the universal shell, just like a chicken egg as a shell outside. Inside there is a liquid portion, outside there is a white layer, white shell. Similarly, our Brahmanda also had 7 layers. Of course, 8 layers as it is mentioned here. The first layer is made up of earth. Earth means very gross substance. We have no question about earth layer. We can very easily understand how it is. Then there comes water layer. So water becomes a little bit subtler than earth. Earth is a gross object. Water cannot stay at one place. It keeps moving here and there. But still water we can see and perceive. Then there comes fire layer. It becomes a little more subtler. We can see fire. We may say its volume, but we cannot hold it. The fire को हम catch नहीं कर सकते, hold नहीं कर सकते. It has no gross existence. It is subtle existence, and much more subtle than the fire is air. We can't even see it. We can only perceive air is moving. Only then when the cold wind, chill wind touches us, or the hot wind touches us, or
Yeah.
some dust particles are flying in the air, we can see, we can perceive that air is there. The what you can say, the leaves of a tree are flapping, we can understand air is moving. And when it goes to ether, we can't even understand the movement of ether. It is there. We accept the ether is there. Around the ether is there, we accept. But it is there. We can't perceive it, but it is there. Yeah. But even much subtler is ahankara. Ahankara also acts like a layer, which is much subtler than ether. It is also there. And much subtler than that is Mahatattva. And then much subtler than that is Prakriti. Prakriti itself is like a layer. Like this, there are 8 layers. Though we may not be able to perceive them, but they are there. We can perceive all the way up to air. So beyond that, we cannot perceive. But all the other layers also, they are there. Just like these are there.
In other words, these are to be perceived by their effect rather than we perceive these things by their effect they have.
Yes, Prabhu. By the effect, we can perceive them. But we should also accept that they also have a manifestation. They also have existence. Just like earth has existence, they also have. They are there. Like that, we should accept.
Thank you, Prabhu.
But you said they are, as you go outside, they become subtler and subtler. But at the same time, they become 10 times thicker and thicker.
Yes.
That I
see, for example, for a chicken egg, the white thick substance, the shell, it may be around half mm. Even if you measure also, it will be like a half mm. So around that, if you I'll take another example. Coconut.
Yeah.
Within the coconut, within a tender coconut becoming solid, there is a hard shell that may be around half centimeter. And above that, we have that thick scrubber kind of thing. The coconut which you take from the tree, the scrubber kind of is there, the coconut, the peel off. So that will be much thicker than the hard shell. So which could be like 10 times to the hard shell. So like that, the layer after layer will be increasing 10 times thicker than the previous layer.
Yeah, Prabhuji, I understood that. But you said it becomes subtler and subtler, but at the same time thicker and thicker. That I did not. I find little bit controversy in that. That's
no. The nature of the element is subtler. The size of the element is 10 times thicker than the previous element. The earth layer is this thicker. The earth layer is this thicker. The water layer is this thicker. And after water, the fire layer is this thicker. Then the air layer is this thicker. So like that, the thickness is increasing. It is a physical dimension.
Nature is subtler.
The nature is becoming subtler.
Okay, I got it.
So like for the coconut, the hard shell is very hard. The scrubber portion is a little softer. And the next layers will be like much softer like that. So you need to imagine how it can be. So Hare Krishna. If there are no questions from other devotees, we'll stop here. Thank you very much for